Hey folks, today we're covering world drops, visual changes, updates to location transitions, and finally, and yes, I know it's been one hell of a wait, we're going to be showing off our first dungeon, so let's get to it. Greetings, citizens of the interweb. Matt here, your hydro-powered ruler and guide to all things gaming and game development. I'm here this week to present yet another video showcasing our single-player medieval fantasy RPG that we're creating using the power of the Unreal Engine. As I said before, today's episode will cover item drops, some visual updates, and of course, our very first dungeon. This is also the last devlog remake we're doing before the finale, where we put the finishing touches on our overworld map and package the game for the demo release. So, in addition to the dungeon, today's episode covers the systems we created all the way back in the original episode 11 from a couple years ago. You know the drill at this point. Since its creation, multiple systems have evolved so much that I felt the need to make some updated videos. This does mean that you're going to see a good mix of old and new footage, and for the parts that have changed, I want to highlight the main differences between now and 2 years ago. Anyways, let's jump in, shall we? So after some tinkering, I've finally landed on a design that marries the best of the old and the new systems. Item highlights are back in action. Not just for world drops, but also for containers. I decided to part ways with the flashy lightning effect on weapon drops. Sometimes less is more. This tweak allows players to quickly assess whether an item is worth grabbing without any unnecessary distractions. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of these changes. Bringing back item highlights isn't just a trip down memory lane, it's a practical move to enhance the player experience. These visual cues make loot more noticeable in the game world, ensuring that players can easily spot valuable items. Removing the over-the-top visual effects aligns with a cleaner, more streamlined design philosophy. It's all about finding that sweet spot between functionality and aesthetics, creating a loot system that feels intuitive and visually appealing to players. Instead of opting for a seamless, interconnected world, I've embraced loading screens when moving between different areas. This isn't just a technical decision, it does save processing power, but there's an artistic touch to it. This was intentional. As a fan of games like Skyrim and Oblivion, I wanted to capture that aesthetic, a deliberate pause between locations that adds to the overall immersive feel. Not immersive in the sense that the world feels real, more so immersive in the sense that it's obvious you're playing a video game. Yes, you heard me. One thing I really don't like about modern games is the focus on hyperrealism. I play games to escape reality. I want to know I'm playing a video game. Yes, I know that sounds weird, but think about it. If you're anything like me, a lot of your best memories come from when you were a kid playing games and exchanging stories about your virtual adventures with your friends on the playground. You knew it wasn't real, especially with the graphical capabilities of the time, but that didn't matter. It was fun, and it was make-believe, which is what pushed it to the next level of enjoyment. Now look at the gaming space today. Everything has to look real, everything has to have that weird, dead, grainy, I'm not a video game aesthetic. If I wanted that, I would just go outside. And, ew, gross, why would I do that? Long live the couch gamer. I'll experience real life when I'm dead. And yes, tooltips on loading screens are in the pipeline. I think it's good to have a little extra information to keep players engaged during these transitions. Some exciting news! Our first dungeon, the Edenvale Mine, is now in the game. The creation of this dungeon does have its place in the world lore as well. It serves as a testament to careful world building and collaborative efforts. What do I mean by this? Edenvale's blacksmith, in partnership with the Eden Company, has established a crucial supply line. Picture this: mining tools ascend the mountain, and raw materials make their triumphant return to the town. But this isn't your average mine. A dramatic cave-in at the beginning of the game reveals a buried section housing an ancient laboratory from the past. This ties back to our lore discussion in episode 1, hinting at a deeper connection between the Eden family and the mysterious symbols found within the ruins. As players explore the mine, and furthermore the lab, symbols of the old gods become a recurring theme, raising questions about the Eden family's involvement in ancient mysteries. The Edenvale Mine isn't just a dungeon, it's a narrative hub, weaving together the threads of the past and the present. As we journey through this dungeon, we'll unravel the secrets of its design, from the strategic use of environmental storytelling to the delicate balance between lore and gameplay. Did that sound smart? I hope it sounded smart. Before we move on to the next section, I really wanted to give you guys a good look at the inside of the Edenvale Mine without all of the interruptions. So I'm going to provide a walkthrough here of the opening section of the mine, right up until we hit the point of major story spoilers in the first quest. That way you can get a really good look at what I've been working on since the last episode. Keep in mind that environmental design isn't my biggest strength, so it took me a while and a few redos before reaching this point. Anyways, here we go. Okay, so here we are entering the Edenvale mine for the very first time. As we walk through the mine, I'll try to keep my mouth shut for most of it so you can really get an idea of what the environment's like and what you can expect in the game. So, as you can see in the gameplay, the object and container highlights have made their triumphant return. I do think they're a nice low-key way to showcase what objects you can interact with in the game world. See one of our new weapons, the sickle. Kind of serves the same purpose as a spear or a twin blade would. So I really tried to go for a lot of usage of my vertical space as well. That way you can kind of get a feel for just how big these mines are. And so here we're demonstrating a bit of our environmental parkour, but you'll see here I fall through the geometry there. So I'm gonna need to make some quick adjustments to that, so I'll just cut away quickly and we'll come back. Alright, let's give that another go. As you can see, it works now, which is great. A lot of game design is just this. You know, finding errors, finding mistakes, and just fixing them on the fly. This is probably where I spend most of my time, to be completely honest. I make a lot of mistakes. When the demo comes out, I'm sure you'll find plenty. So, as you can see, the character tags show either a name or, I mean, if they're just some random NPC worker, it'll show their title and then who they're affiliated with underneath. As you can see, objects in the world that you can interact with, like rocks for mining ore or trees for cutting down, also use the same highlight. Have to adjust that guy's targeting point. He's using his pickaxe on a wooden support, which doesn't make any sense. So here we're showcasing a bit more parkour. When you stand on small, narrow pillars or walkways, your customer will raise their arms for balance and keep their feet together instead of using their regular walking pose. Nothing too special, I just think it looks a little bit nicer than your feet just kind of floating on nothing. But yeah, a lot of the inspiration for this mine kind of came from the mines and dungeons in Skyrim. Now here I was having a problem with getting the character to engage with the ladder when climbing down. I'm not sure what the problem was, so I'll have to look into that. I'm guessing it has something to do with the ladder's hitboxes, or collision boxes rather. But as you can see, climbing up, there doesn't seem to be any problems, so I'm not sure why he wouldn't grab onto the ladder when climbing down. As you can see, I crouch when I go down, because I've mapped the crouch key to the mantling the ladder. I'm just not sure why it wouldn't work going down, so that's something I'll have to take a look at. And you can see as we reach the bottom of the mine, you start seeing those symbols that I spoke about in the video, and you can see where part of the cave-in happens. So this wall, the first time you're here, this section's completely closed off, and all that's here is the camp for the miners. So the section I'm about to walk through as I go under the pillar was closed off the first time we visited, so this is post-cave-in. So you can see some of the excavations crew has tried to move through. They built some scaffolding, tried to map a way through the rubble, but you're really the first person who's going to traverse this area post cave-in. So as you can see up top from the, I guess we'll call it the ceiling, that whole section has come crashing down. So now you can see through right to the outside world. So you can see some statues and effigies that previous civilizations have created here in the mine. Obviously we'll cover those as we move further into the game. And as we move along in this back section, as you can see, we've got some floating rocks there. Again, something I'm going to fix. So I'll be right back after I do that. Okay, now we're going to show off some of my speedrunning techniques so we can get back to where we were. Wouldn't recommend doing this in the actual demo. It might kind of kill your experience in the dungeon if you can just run through it this fast. Obviously there's no mobs or enemies spawning right now. For the sake of demonstration, I haven't put those in. If you want to see an example of the combat in the game and how mobs react to your presence, if they're hostile, I showed that in a previous episode. Can't remember the episode number, but I think it's in the title, so you can find that pretty easily. So as you can see, I've fixed up this area. Back here, what I wanted to do is just for people who were curious enough to explore because of the scaffolding. I was going to maybe hide like a secret chest back here, maybe with an okay beginner weapon for the start of the game. As you can see, the collision there for some of the rocks. For some reason, it's not using the complex collision, so he's climbing on sections of the rock that are invisible, that don't actually exist. So I think it's using the simple box collision, which is something I want to change. Because obviously that doesn't look great when your character's just grabbing onto nothing. And as we move further through the section here, we're going to show off some of the Assassin's Creed style climbing that we made quite a few episodes ago. As far as parkour goes, following the switch to the advanced locomotion system, and our original swap over to the Assassin's Creed style climbing system, not much has changed since then. But you can just kind of see how it looks outside of a developer room when we're using actual world items. Not sure why he wasn't grabbing there. I was about to back out and see what the problem was, and then he grabbed on and it started working fine, so I'm not sure what the reason was for the delay. As you can see, the hand tracking needs a little bit of work, but all in good time. There's a lot of stuff I'm working on right now, so. Probably gonna move that torch. So it seems kind of odd to have your feet pass through the flame. Oh yeah, you can really get a sense of scale for how big the dungeon is. And coming up in the next section is where you cross over to that lab portion we talked about. The more, depending on how you look at it, the more modern side of the dungeon, where you start seeing, you know, artifacts of the old gods. You know, things like stuff that's more technologically advanced than the swords and shields and all that we've seen so far. But I am going to cut it soon, because we do have a bit of a spoiler coming up. And I want to save that for the next episode, which is going to be a great big super long episode. And I don't want to take away from that, so I'm gonna cut just as we look around that corner. Take one more look around this room. And I'm going to cut it here. I'm so excited to share the latest news on our demo release. With the first dungeon nearly complete, we're down to the final stretch, ticking off the last 2 items on our to-do list, finishing the tutorial quest, and putting the final touches on the town of Edenvale. We're on the cusp of something extraordinary, at least for me. And the anticipation really is palpable. Picture it, the culmination of years and years of development, and not just from the videos you've seen, but since the start of my undergraduate degree, 7 years ago. Not that I did an undergraduate for 7 years, that's just when I started making the game. I promise I'm not that stupid. From a once empty developer room with a default Unreal Engine mannequin, to the vibrant living world that Nightwatch has become. As we approach the demo release, it's a testament to the incredible journey we've embarked on together. I vividly recall the early days where the game was but a seed of an idea, and now it stands as a testament to the dedication and support the series has garnered. The running, jumping, swimming, and yes, even horsing have evolved from simple mechanics to integral elements of an actual video game. For those curious about our game's evolution, I've prepared a playlist link that will guide you through the entire process of its creation from start to finish. Additionally, as I said before, this marks the conclusion of revisiting and reworking our older episodes. These remakes were a necessary step as the original systems became obsolete, with most of them phased out entirely. The game has undergone a remarkable transformation, with us now solidifying its systems at the polishing stage. Yes, there's a mountain of polish ahead, but the satisfaction of seeing my game come to life is immeasurable. Looking forward, our devlogs will shift focus toward new additions, quests, locations, abilities, and more. The game's foundation is set, and now it's time to build upon it with fresh content and exciting features. But hold on, dear viewers, because after the next episode, brace yourselves for a special surprise. This episode took a lot longer to get out, and the reason, I think, is a thrilling one. Without giving too much away, it might just be a super long, multiple-hour video that peels back the curtain on the extensive creation process of Nightwatch. So stay tuned, and let's dive deeper into the magic of Nightwatch together, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.